Hello and welcome to Inside Poland, our monthly program entirely devoted to the Polish presidency of the EU. 100 years after Marie Curie received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, we'll look at the state of Polish science. The Warsaw-born scientist, famous for her pioneering research on radioactivity, remains a source of inspiration for many Poles. Poland has brains. Surveys show Polish science still ranks among the world's best. But low pay, underinvestment and harsh competition from Western universities threaten to destroy this legacy. In this program, we'll also travel to Warsaw to introduce you to the Polish capital's vibrant art scene. Today, we'll visit an art gallery. But first, let me introduce you to my two guests on this set, Mr. Jerzy Pielaszek. Nice to have you with us. You're the director of the Scientific Center of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Paris. Also on this set, Piotr Sleczkowski. Hello. You're a PhD candidate at Paris 6 University. I add that you're a member of the Association of Polish Students and Graduates, and you specialize in physics. Before we talk about Marie Curie, because I know she's a source of inspiration for many Poles, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Pielaszek, does Poland continue to live up to its reputation as a scientific nation?
I would say that yes, taking into account the amount of money are devoted to science. I would say that in special in the certain domain, the Polish scientists are on the world level. Of course, it's not, the scientific weight of the whole science in Poland due to different reasoning and including the financial possibility is not that big. But in some domain, I can cite here some biotechnology, for example, mathematics, some domain in physics. They are simply on the highest world level.
Piotr Sleczkowski, you started your studies in Poland at the University of Gliwice. Yes. You're now in Paris. You've been here for 2 years. How do Polish universities compare to Parisian universities, for instance?
First of all, I need to say that I was very lucky to study in ENS Cachan, which is a top-class school in France, and it's really hard to compare because in Cachan, in total, there is maybe 2,000 or 3,000 students, and the interaction between a student and the professor is really different than in the Polish university, but it's sometimes really hard to establish such an interaction. And this was really new for me, and this is really big advantage, that the access to more educated, more experienced people. But as professor said, there are very many very good groups in Poland in different topics, in mathematics, in material science.
Despite the lack of investment.
Exactly. Despite of the fact that getting the money is not that easy usually in their case.
To be frank, the last year the amount of money which are in Poland invested, for example, in the scientific equipment, it is before any comparison with the situation it was
in the 90s after the fall of communism. We know that
there is no comparison.
You went through a very difficult
completely.
time.
I mean, there are happening very good things. Like there is this foundation for Polish science. Yeah, there are many programs promoting. Really.
This is only on one of the possibilities, but even the government funds and now the European funds in some domains which are taught by the European Commission, that the domains where generally Europe is lacking, the advancement. So in this domain, of course, the question always is the France, more or less the same, the salaries.
And we're going to talk about this in a moment. But first, Maria Skłodowska-Curie is indeed a Polish national hero. And this year, the country has been celebrating her achievements with a Marie Curie year. Of course, though born in Warsaw, the double Nobel Prize winner made her career in France. The brain drain from cash-strapped institutions in Central Europe has continued in recent years. But as our correspondent Gulliver Crack found out, European funding is also helping to plug it.
A teaching salary at the University of Wrocław might not have been enough to lure Elżbieta Gumienna-Kontecka home. She completed her chemistry doctorate in France on one of the European Union's prestigious Marie Curie fellowships. But when offered EU funding to pursue her research back in Poland, she jumped at the chance.
They were offering me to apply for a position in France, you know. But with Marie Curie Fellowship, you have a possibility to write a reintegration grant. And I wrote another project and it was successful, so I got money to come back and to start developing my research here.
Gumienna-Kontecka's team works with colleagues in Ukraine, Israel and France. They're studying the behavior of copper and iron ions, metal molecules that are suspected of causing neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. To test this thesis and work on ways to neutralize the metal's effects, the researchers create ligands which bind to metal molecules.
The ligands that we are interested in, these are the chemical compounds which are the molecules designed to bind the metal ions that are important in our research, like copper and iron. And we want to, by this method we are using, to observe their behavior by changing the pH.
This research could point the way to a cure for Alzheimer's disease, whose discoverer, Alois Alzheimer, was also a professor here. For Wrocław, formerly Breslau, Germany, has been an important seat of learning since the 18th century. The historic university buildings have been restored after World War II bombings, and Elżbieta says the institution's reputation for research is also resurgent. She recently hosted 2 international conferences here.
If you are recognized in the society, then they can propose that you can organize a big event, because your high level of research, of recognition is like a guarantee that you will choose the right people to give lectures.
Poland still spends only about 1/3 of the EU average on research and development. But European grants and fee-paying students from abroad are helping improve its universities.
In Wrocław we have more and more foreign students, and we are preparing special programs for them that they can learn in English.
So the next Marie Skłodowska-Curie might even be an immigrant to Poland.
Piotr, we saw Elżbieta in the report thanks to a Marie Curie fellowship. She was offered money to go back to Poland and continue her studies there. Well, I should say her research there. What are your plans? Are you going to stay in France, or are you confident that you'll be able to go back to Poland and make a career there?
Being honest, I'm not really sure right now. I'm more or less in the halfway of my PhD. And I see many nice opportunities here in France to continue with the topic that I'm currently working. But the situation in Poland is getting better and better as well. So I really consider going back to Poland. It really depends.
When you say better, because a lot of people tell you one of the problems is low pay. It's hard to be a scientist in Poland because your salary won't match Western equivalents. Is that still the case?
This is always the case, but I think for scientists a bit more important is the possibility of making good research and obtaining money for the work than really the salary itself.
Mr. Bielosek, you were saying that European money has been helping Polish science in recent years. We saw it in the report. So you're confident that this will upgrade the level of universities in Poland?
For sure, the European fund won't do any miracles. So European funds, this is only 5% of the funds which are devoted in Europe as totally for the science. So they are for this direction in developing of science, where Europe is lagging behind, generally behind the United States of what you said, China, for example, where the effort is much bigger. So this money won't by no way cure the Polish science. No, this is the effort of the Polish government, Polish institution is needed, and also what is now the very big problem in Poland is the participation of the Polish industry. This is one of the biggest issue now. As my colleague said, you know, the salary are very important, of course, because the young scientists should have enough money just to live. But the good laboratories, the possibility of contacts, which now there is no comparison with the times of, let's say, early 19th even, are so big that one can say that the sky is the limit.
Mm-hmm. Piotr, we talked a lot about Marie Curie. It's a special Marie Curie year in Poland. She was elected by internet users as Poland's greatest citizens of all times. What does she mean to you 100 years after she received her Nobel Prize in Chemistry?
Marie Curie is an icon. She did really tremendous things, and we have to remember that in her times, this was not common to have a woman in science. So she had like a double obstacle, let's say, and then she really succeeded, brilliant, obtaining a Nobel Prize. So really, it's an icon.
She remains an icon. Would you agree? Also, her history is very interesting because she was born in Warsaw. She had to move to France to be able to work. She had dual citizenship, so it's a very Polish story.
Yes, this is very Polish story, and I would say that her life, it reflects also the history of Poland at that time. Poland as a state didn't exist. The women couldn't study at Warsaw University. So they were going to abroad, like Marie Curie, but she was all the time planning to return to Poland till the time she was married.
And very briefly, do you think that Poland nowadays could produce a new Marie Curie?
I think that any country can produce any Marie Curie. Look at the Nobel Prize of women in chemistry for last years. How many women there are?
Absolutely.
Also,
we'll be following that very closely. Thank you very much indeed for taking part in this edition of Inside Poland.
Thank you.
Good luck, Piotr, with your studies, either in France or in Poland. And thank you very much, Mr. Pielashek. Well, it's time now for our cultural sequence. We'll travel to Warsaw to introduce you to the Polish capital's vibrant art scene. And today we'll visit one of the city's many art galleries, the Napiórkowska Gallery, which specializes in modern Polish painting.
Here I am in Warsaw at the Napiórkowska Gallery, and as you will see here, art is a family business.
Hello, my name is Katarzyna Napiórkowska, mother.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Magda Napiórkowska, one of the daughters.
And the second daughter, Justyna Napiórkowska. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the art world.
Thank you very much, Justyna. Now, of course, you've chosen a couple of artists who are all representative of what Polish painting really means.
I really believe that there is something really particular about Polish art that might be linked to the fact that Polish art was during at least 50 years really separated from the tendencies which were in the world. Somehow the Polish artists managed to keep their independence within the surface of the canvases. And here we go with some examples. I would start with Professor Tadeusz Dominik, who is the representative of Polish School of Colorism, one of the most important tendencies of our movements in Polish 20th century art, color as the main factor of the paintings. He was the one to educate at least two generations of contemporary young Polish artists with still this big impact of color as the most important formation of the painting.
Now, in a completely different style, you've chosen an artist who was a bit provocative at the height of censorship during a communist regime.
Yes, I think that you will be surprised to hear that that painting was painted back in 1975, in the time when you wouldn't really imagine Poland as a place where so much freedom inside of the artist's atelier was existing. In fact, Professor Markowski is probably one of the most striking examples of this inside independence which was constructed within the atelier of the artist.
Justyna, we're quite lucky today. One of your favorite painters is in the house.
Yes, I would like to invite you to the first floor and we are going to see the atelier. Marek.
Hello.
Dzień dobry, witam Cię serdecznie. Marek Okrasa.
Tell us more about your work and your inspiration.
Each picture, each painting is a composition of many ideas which come together on one canvas. Fiction places and fiction persons. So I treat each picture as kind of shortcut of a film, and I visit a lot of places close to sea. I look for small, beautiful towns around Europe, in France, in Spain, and sometimes I find it.
Thank you, Marek, and thank you, Justyna, for introducing us to the world of Polish painting.
There is still much more to discover, so I hope to see you again.
In which case we'll have to come back with pleasure. And thank you for watching this edition of Inside Poland. Remember, if you want to watch this program again, you can log on to our website. That's france24.com. From all of us here in Warsaw, thank you for watching and goodbye.